What's up everybody, D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and I'm going to be picking up right where I left off in the last one. Today we're going to be doing my Jurassic World Rebirth spoiler thoughts. In this video I will be going in depth with the story, character, and dinosaurs of Jurassic World Rebirth. Full spoilers from this point on. If you haven't seen Jurassic World Rebirth and you're worried about spoilers, get on out of here and then come back once you've seen the movie. If you've already seen the movie, we got a lot to talk about. And hey, without further ado, let's just jump into it. If you've seen my spoiler-free review, which I highly recommend you watch first, you'd know I had a very weird theatrical experience at Jurassic World Rebirth, but it really didn't hold me back. One thing I will say is the way it ended. We ended the movie right when we had to evacuate the theater, right before they got to the island, like the Mosasaur Spinosaurus attack was happening. And I'll say, as far as like a movie goes, I knew that we were very far from the ending. We haven't even made it to the island yet. There's still a lot left. It felt like we were probably in the very beginning of the second act for the movie, but we had been there long enough that it kind of felt like this is close to where the movie should end. You know, if this was an hour and a half movie, we were kind of close to the end. Plus you got to factor in that I've been sitting through like 35-40 minutes of trailers before the movie starts. So in a way, it kind of felt like, oh, this is close to the end of the movie. And then when we got back into the theater, it felt like a whole second movie started. Even with the fact that once they make it to the island, the pacing slows down a little bit and then we're kind of rebuilding back into things. I'm wondering if I sit down and watch it all in one sitting without the interruptions that I suffered, how I'll feel about the pacing, because as it stands, I actually didn't have any pacing issues at all. I felt like it really flowed, but I am wondering if that slowdown at the second act could be an area where some people are kind of having some conflict with this movie, and I just didn't really experience that because I had that interruption in the middle, so it kind of felt like I was easing back into the film. I don't know. Curious to hear what you guys think about that, so come below and let me know. Getting into my spoiler thoughts on the movie, let's talk about the story. There's a big reason that I really liked the story of this movie, and it's because it's not that unfamiliar of a story. It's the story of one of my favorite movies of all time. There's an uncharted island in the South Pacific, holding secrets that could maybe even cure disease. Who knows what's there? The scientists and shady company men wanting to go to this island recruit a military escort, including a serviceman turned gun for hire with a heart of gold. But hey, you don't go into someone's home unless you're picking a fight. Their presence is taken as a direct threat. They get stranded, and soon they find they don't belong here on this island, the land where God did not finish creation. It's filled with dinosaurs and monsters and is the place where myth and science meet. They have an extract coming by helicopter, and they have to get from point A, the south point of the island, to the north point in a little over a day, and we're off. That's the plot. That's the plot of Kong Skull Island. No wonder I liked this movie. The Kong Skull Island's my favorite film of the 2010s. As far as the actual details of this movie, we start out, and in the 2010s, while they don't ever address it by name, I kind of feel like this movie's skirting around the Jurassic World trilogy a little bit. It feels like a movie that is building off the Jurassic World trilogy. I appreciate that Edwards is not shy about like, hey, we're just continuing the world where it left off, rather than doing that stupid thing that reboots often do, which is like directly acknowledge the first movie and none of the others. Like maybe they happen, but we're not going to talk about them. This movie does a very nice thing in that it picks up with the world as we left it off in Dominion, but they don't ever say a lot about Jurassic World by name. Like, they refer to it vaguely. So while working on the Indominus Rex and cooking up the Indominus Rex, InGen starts to experiment with creating hybrid dinosaurs on Isle St. Hubert, which is basically the Jurassic World equivalent of Isla Sorna, the Site B where they create the dinosaurs before shipping them over to the main island, Isla Nublar. But there's one point where they specifically say, like, when the creators of the original park were working on the dinosaurs, the original park would be Jurassic Park, which would have been a long time ago. That's 30 years ago at this point. So it feels a little disingenuous to say the original park, other than I guess to put that line in the trailers, because they're specifically referring to Jurassic World. And I kind of wish we had laid more into this is a extension of Jurassic World rather than Jurassic Park. But on this island, InGen has a lab where they're creating hybrid dinosaurs, including two-headed Mutadons and such. And one day a freak accident is caused by a chocolate bar, resulting in the Distortus Rex, aka the D-Rex, escaping and the island being evacuated. Now, a few things. I really love the D-Rex sequence. I think it is a fantastic sequence with amazing visuals and amazing tension. I really liked it. What I didn't love is that stupid chocolate bar wrapper causing the whole thing to go wrong. I feel like it would have been simply more compelling if it was just a mechanical error that caused the vents or the doors to not close properly. I think that would even be a little more interesting. And I also don't understand why the whole island had to be evacuated. The Distortus Rex escapes. Like, can you not sedate the thing? Can you not shoot it a whole bunch of times with some tranks and drag it back into its cage? Maybe not. I don't know. But overall, I really liked that scene, and the D-Rex was pretty sweet in that moment. We then jump many years, picking up 5 years after Jurassic World Dominion, which took took place in 2022, placing this movie in 2027. We find ourselves at the end of what I believe they call the Neo-Dinosaur Age. I can't totally remember. I think they call it the Neo-Dinosaur Age, which began in 2018 when Maisie Lockwood freed all the dinosaurs at the end of Fallen Kingdom. And damn it, man, why are we at the end of it? Look, I understand that this movie's playing into the realism of it, right? The climate and ecosystem of the modern world simply cannot support dinosaurs like it used to be able to. Like, they can't survive in our modern world and ecosystems, other than in this movie they say near the equator, where it's most similar to how it used to be. Great, I suppose. The realism I understand. It does feel like we've been backpedaling the ending of Fallen Kingdom ever since Fallen Kingdom. I really loved Battle at Big Rock, the short film. I thought it was great, especially the end credits when the Lost World theme is playing and you're seeing all the dinosaur chaos that's happening all over the globe. I loved the promise of dinosaurs being integrated into the modern world, and we barely get any of that. I love the scene at the start of the movie where you see there's a brontosaurus stuck in New York traffic. Like, that is great stuff. I love it. I want to see more of that. I love the first act of Jurassic World Dominion when we're seeing dinosaurs in the modern world. There's dinosaur cowboys, there's like a dinosaur black market, there's people freeing dinosaurs, there's that beautiful scene of the dinosaur walking around the lumberyard. Like, there's so much stuff that I love about that first act of Dominion, and I feel like we've never fully committed to the premise of dinosaurs being out there in the world. Remember when originally we thought that this movie was going to be Jurassic City and it was going to be like a city quarantined with dinosaurs overrunning it? How badass would that be? I would have loved that. 28 years later, but it's dinosaurs? Come on, man. Give it to me now. So one of my issues with this movie is simply the missed potential of being like, actually dinosaurs cannot survive in the modern world, and that's just simply the way it would work in real life, and so that's the way it's going to work in this series as well. Dude, the dinosaurs in the Jurassic series are not dinosaurs in the modern world. They have specific adaptations that they can overcome. Hey, you know the saying, life finds a way? Whatever happened to that? They're not finding a way, they're just dying off. I understand that it might be a little realistic, but come on, if they can change their gender to reproduce on their own, there surely can be a way that the dinosaurs could thrive. I mean, they had an enzyme that was supposed to starve them to death in the first movie, and we're just saying, no, actually, despite the fact that they adapted to overcome that specific enzyme that was supposed to kill them, they can't make it in the cold. What the hell? That's one of my issues, is just the missed potential. I will try not to hold it against the movie because judging the movie on its own, I still like what we got. Martin Kurbs, I believe is his name. He works for Parker Genix. He recruits Zora Bennett, a former military covert ops, into helping him and Dr. Henry Loomis go on a mission to collect biological samples of 3 of the largest dinosaur species alive at the moment, which are all contained on this one isolated island. They hold the key to developing a medicine that can prolong lives in certain diseases. It's a very obvious plot, like it feels very generic, but at the same time I actually think it was pretty well done, and I like the premise. I like the setup. It's a simple premise, it's easy to wrap your head around, and it gives us a clear objective on where we're going in this movie, and it allows us to interact with different dinosaurs in meaningful ways that I liked a lot. From here, Zora gets her friend Duncan Kincaid and his crew on board, and they're off to the island. Meanwhile, a family sailboat is attacked and stranded at sea by a Mosasaur. That was pretty cool. That felt like one of those moments where it's like, oh yeah, this is the consequences of dinosaurs out there in the real world. Our main crew, Kincaid, winds up rescuing them, and so Ruben Delgado and his kids Teresa and Isabel and Teresa's boyfriend Xavier join the crew. They then go to collect their Dino DNA, and the first one up is the Mosasaur, who they collect a sample of. That is a super exciting sequence. I really liked the Mosasaur sequence. It felt very Jaws inspired. It was very cool. I love sea monsters. I think that was very neat. But then they're shipwrecked as a couple Spinosaurs show up helping the Mosasaur. The Spinosaurs don't get a ton of play in this movie, but I really liked their sequence at sea, and I love that shot of there's one on land, it gets up, and then right before it goes and kills one of Kincaid's friends. That was great. I loved the Spinosaurs in the moments they got. They're wildly different than they were in Jurassic Park 3, and they don't even address it, but they didn't really get a ton to do beyond that point. I was a little surprised by that. That's another thing I'll say. It feels like the trailers showed a lot of this movie, but they were pretty cool. On the island, they find out that Zora has a backup plan because their ship gets destroyed. They're shipwrecked there. But Zora has a backup plan. An extract mission is coming to pick them up the next night, so they just need to survive for 2 days on the island. The Delgados actually wound up separated during this, and they have to find their way back to the island's village, which is powered by hydrothermal vents, which can sustain itself on its own. That's the best place that they can think to go. And so they're trying to get to the village, and our main characters are continuing their mission to collect the Dino DNA. Along the way, the Delgados encounter and are attacked by a T-Rex after adopting a baby Achylops, which Isabella names Dolores. Dolores I kind of felt like was not needed in this movie, felt like just a thing there to sell toys the way that Blue was so cute and beloved that they sold a lot of Blue toys. Dolores doesn't do anything or play into the movie at all. I thought there might even be a plot line where like the mama wants to come for that Jurassic Park 3 style, and that never happens. I thought there might be a plot line where the Distortus Rex is drawn to the smell of the baby dinosaur, but nope, not ever brought up. As far as the T-Rex scene goes, very fun, very entertaining scene. I really liked it. It was all in the trailers, so it was a little underwhelming. And the T-Rex didn't even get a single kill in this movie. It feels so nerfed despite being so huge, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the dinosaur section. In the meantime, our main crew starts to finish their mission. They collect the first sample, which is the Titanosaur, and then they go to collect the Quetzalcoatlus samples, which leads to a whole lot of chaos before eventually reuniting at the abandoned lab where the Mutadon raptors live, which are like mixes between raptors and pterosaurs. And then eventually the D-Rex shows up and it turns out he lives there too, and a lot of chaos ensues leading to the finale of the movie when they all escape the island and the only person who dies is the bad guy. I really like this stuff at the lab at the end of the movie. I thought that was great. And I also really like that Quetzalcoatlus sequence too. That was a very fun sequence with a lot of new obstacles being presented that all felt very natural and exciting to see play out. As far as tone and vibes of this movie go, I feel like this movie does not really hang on to a lot of the issues that a lot of the Jurassic movies have, in that I feel like Jurassic Park 3 and all 3 of the Jurassic World movies have major issues where if the characters reacted just ever so slightly different, often if they were just slightly more strategical about their actions, the outcome would be dramatically different. For instance, there's a moment in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It's a small moment, but a soldier has a gun pulled on Blue who is killing his friend, and rather than doing anything about it, he runs straight up to Blue to shoot her point blank, and she slaps the gun, causing him to shoot this gas canister, and the whole explosion happens, which leads to the entire conflict of the ending of the movie. If the guy just took the shot from far away and just shot Blue dead, the entire rest of the movie would be different. That's one of my big issues with the Jurassic World trilogy, is if people acted even slightly different, same with Jurassic Park 3, it's a different movie. I do not think that's the case for Jurassic Park where everybody's at the top of their game the whole time. I don't really think it's an issue with the Lost World Jurassic Park where everybody's kind of forced to act the way they are, like they don't really have many options, and I feel like that's the same case here. Everybody acts in basically the way you would think they would have to act. Like nobody really has all that much of an option here. They're all acting in the only ways they can, other than Duncan, who beaches his ship a little recklessly, but I think it was probably screwed anyways after colliding with those rocks. For the actual like tone of the movie, it was not as horror filled as I hoped. Like based on the trailers, I really thought this movie was going to go full on horror. It doesn't really do that. The D-Rex scenes were fantastic, but they were very quick. Like the beginning of the movie was really wonderful, and then the ending of the movie at the lab brought back those horror vibes, and it was pretty awesome. But the horror vibes were mostly missing through the middle of the movie, which left it as an adventure film. And I'll say it did nail the adventure film vibe. I thought it really did a good job with that. Not too action heavy to where it gets cheesy, a lot of action that was fun, but it's mostly like adventure action, so it really worked for me. Felt very Spielberg as was intended. This movie was really familiar in terms of vibes in all the best ways for me specifically. As the King Kong guy, the guy who loves King Kong, and the Godzilla guy, the guy who loves Godzilla, this movie was nailing it on all fronts. This movie was filled with so much Gareth Edwards goodness. The powerful use of scale is the least of which he did nail. There was a lot of wonderful scale. The dinosaurs felt enormous, despite the really wide aspect ratio resulting in a shorter frame than some of the other Jurassic movies have made great use of. There was really great shots in here with wonderful sense of scale, just like in Godzilla 2014. And from the powerful use of scale to those very quiet human moments where the characters can be vulnerable with each other, it was Edwards going full Edwards. And in fact, some of those moments, like that scene where Zora and Kincaid are talking on the ship on the way to the island about all the mistakes they've made in their life, I thought that was great humanizing stuff. The characters really worked for me. Maybe because Godzilla 2014 was paying so much homage to Jurassic Park, Gareth Edwards was trying his best to go full Jurassic with Godzilla 2014. Maybe that's why this movie feels like the way it does, but this movie felt so Godzilla 2014, like full on. There were so many shots, parallels, even plot beats and similar sequences to Godzilla 2014. It was quite wild. I could, at some point when this movie comes out, although Universal would copyright claim the hell out of it, put together like a shot-by-shot comparison of Godzilla 2014 to Jurassic World Rebirth. It's wild. The projector also seemed to go full Gareth Edwards. I'm wondering if this was my projector or if this was like an issue with a movie. I'm wondering if this was a movie thing or my projector thing, but boy, those nighttime shots, a lot of them were really dark and hard to tell what was going on. Just like Godzilla 2014, it was a dark movie at times. And then like straight up, as I mentioned, this movie was so much like Skull Island. It felt like if you took the vibe and characters' personalities from Kong's Skull Island and threw them onto Peter Jackson's Skull Island's ecosystem, that's what this movie was. It was a King Kong movie where King Kong doesn't show up. They go to Skull Island and they're running around Skull Island and King Kong's just not there to save them. I thought it was really entertaining for that reason. It was like, oh, the mysterious island vibes are back. This was such a genre in the early days of cinema. I love this idea of like a mysterious island where myth and dinosaurs and monsters run wild. And I feel like, as was being commented on with the movie Kong Skull Island, with the invention of Landsat and us being able to map the entire world, we really lost that mystery and adventure. There was no place left to explore. And I love movies like this, which can bring that mysterious island vibe back. This island was abandoned for years. It feels a lot more monstrous and scary and Skull Islandy than the island in Jurassic Parks 2 and 3. I really liked it for that reason. One thing I'll say is that, and this is my other main issue with the movie, the thing this movie is missing other than King Kong is stakes. This movie is missing stakes simply because it couldn't commit to Kong Skull Island's ability to kill off characters at any moment. King Kong 2005 does the same thing as well. Characters who you think are going to make it through the whole film are just dropping left and right in those movies. And the fact that Kong Skull Island had such a large cast that dwindles to quite a small cozy one by the end, it made every scene feel so dangerous. Every monster had a threat. The mother longlegs is getting kills. The skull crawlers are taking people out. It makes it so that even when a skir buffalo shows up, you're on the edge of your seat wondering who's gonna die. It was a wonderful movie with wonderful stakes, and this movie was such a small, cozy cast. It was a little like the opposite of that. Like, the cast is so small and so cozy, you know pretty much from the first sequence who's gonna live and who's gonna die. You know the bad guy's gonna die, you know everybody else is gonna live, and that's just that. Then they introduce those side characters, Kincaid's friends, and you're like, you're the fodder, you're dead. I think that this movie was severely missing probably 2 or 3 major deaths. If it were me, if I were pulling the strings here, it twists the tone, it makes it a lot darker of a movie. And I understand that Kong Skull Island had thematic reason to kill off the characters that it does. But I gotta say, Teresa probably should have died. And then I think Kincaid's death was a little obvious, but I think he might have had to die as well. Or you just go for it and Zora has to die. Zora might not be able to die because you want to do sequels with her. I kind of understand that mentality. I think same thing with Loomis, but maybe Kincaid had to die and maybe Teresa had to die. I think some people should have been killed. That T-Rex should have killed somebody and the D-Rex should have killed someone else. Or even the Mutadons should have gotten somebody. Or better yet, have a bigger cast and wipe through a lot more of them. But the thing that made Kong Skull Island so compelling was that A-listers like John Goodman and Sam Jackson were dying as well. That's what made that movie so compelling. With Kong Skull Island, I was truly on the edge of my seat. Like, I didn't even know Brie Larson was gonna make it out alive. When the Skullcrawler swallows Kong's hand with her in it, I thought she was toast. There's no point in this entire movie where I think Zora's gonna die. That was my true biggest issue with this movie. As far as the characters go, I really liked all of them. Dr. Henry Loomis, played by Jonathan Bailey, was fantastic. I thought he was a great lead. He's one of my favorite leads we've had in a Jurassic movie. I think I liked him single-handedly more than any of the Jurassic World casts. I thought he was great, super fun, super charismatic, and I loved how he continued to defy expectations. He was a nerdy guy who was just simply not all that out of his element. That's what I thought was great. He's portrayed as like, oh, he's gonna be a nerd and he's gonna be a damsel in distress and need to be saved the whole time. And then he is consistently brave and adventurous and strategical, and he consistently proves himself to be like really good in the field, and it made him very compelling. Duncan Kincaid was my next favorite, played by Mahershala Ali. I'm a sucker for characters whose whole deal is just simply they are good people and they're trying to do good things and they have really strong morals and really strong hearts, and that's what Kincaid was. He was fantastic, and that's why he probably needed to die. Zora Bennett I really liked as well. She was a lot of fun. She's a very strong and badass character, but I really liked how they balanced that out with a lot of vulnerability and personal trauma to make her feel compelling and real. She does not really have Ford Brody syndrome. I also love storylines about somebody wanting to do better than they're currently doing and then pulling it off by the end. Not necessarily someone even needing redemption, just someone simply trying to do better than they are. Ruben Delgado, played by Manuel Garcia Rolfo, was a pretty compelling family lead. I liked that character a lot. He added a lot of heart and weight to the story. Isabella Delgado I liked as well, played by Adriana Miranda. She might be the best kid in the Jurassic franchise. She didn't have any annoying tendencies at all, I didn't think. She wasn't also just there to be put in danger, but when she was put in danger, it really did elevate the stakes of the movie, and she was very good. She proved herself to be a very strong actress. Xavier was the first one where I'm like, whatever. I liked that character. I think he could have died for sure. That one could have been killed off, but I just don't think he would have carried as much of an emotional weight if he died. They wanted him to be an annoying character, and they sure pulled that off, but they also balanced it out with just enough positive traits to make him still likable. Martin Curbs, Rupert Friend's character, was a solid villain. He's pretty cliche, but he never went full mustache twirlingly evil, so I liked him as well. He's pretty predictable. You definitely know his fate right when the movie starts, but even still, he served his role and he served it well. The only character I truly didn't have any real opinion of was Teresa Delgado, played by Luna Balassi. I thought she was very underused. I just simply didn't think she had much to do. She never really contributed a lot to the movie, other than I guess being put in danger to make Xavier look better. I wish she had either done more, had more of a role to play, or served as a really important character death. Either of those things would have worked. If I could take an axe to the cast to really try and up the stakes of this movie, I'd be killing off Teresa, Martin, Xavier, and probably Kincaid, and that would have elevated the stakes of the movie and made every single dinosaur sequence way more nail-biting. As for the dinosaurs, they were pretty sweet. The dinosaurs are all pretty fantastic. The 3 dinosaurs they're collecting DNA from all had great sequences, and they were all used very well. I do understand we need to get a break from the T-Rex, but by including the T-Rex and then having him do ultimately nothing felt kind of like a huge missed opportunity. He's probably the biggest T-Rex we've ever seen, and he doesn't really do anything other than chase them through the water and cause no harm to anybody. I did think the Mutadons were very cool. They were kind of underused. I think that they could have been used a little more and caused a little more chaos, and again, they don't get anybody, so it doesn't really up the stakes with them running around as much as it should, but they were very cool. I really liked the designs. I thought they were very scary. I loved the premise of raptors that can fly like that. I thought that they were super neat, and they really made the lab sequences feel special. And as for the D-Rex, the dude was all presence and then not much else. I really liked him. I loved the design. I thought he was very ugly and very creepy. I thought that he had a really gnarly personality in those scenes where he's kind of like menacingly grabbing people and eating them in a way that feels a little more malicious than we're used to seeing. I love that moment when he grabs the helicopter out of the air and feels very much kaiju-ish. That was awesome. But he ultimately doesn't get to do a lot. Like, he's very rarely used in this movie. He doesn't feel as scary as I wish he did. And it's mostly because I know the cast is so safe. And if I didn't know the cast was going to be as safe as they were, the D-Rex's sequences would have been a lot more intense. In the end, the D-Rex just kind of feels like a tragic misfit, and I feel more bad for him than I do afraid of him. The visuals in the movie I thought were beautiful, amazing stuff, some of the best cinematography we've seen in a Jurassic movie. The VFX I truly thought were astounding. The music, I thought it was alright, not all of it was great. I thought that on the whole it was pretty good. This was done by Alexander Desplat, who did Godzilla 2014. The best part of it was when they bring back the wonderful John Williams Jurassic Park theme for the Titanosaur scene. That was absolutely peak, but it was a little spoiled by the very awkward 2 uses of the theme earlier in the movie. First of all, they kick on the Jurassic theme to fly to like Barbados or whatever. They fly to an island that is just a normal ass island with no real dinosaurs at all. It's a very weird use of that song. And then they play a really sad, weird version of it over a conversation between Zora and Loomis that has nothing to even do with dinosaurs. So that felt very out of place. And it kind of spoiled the wonderful use of it later on with the Titanosaurs. The themes of the movie, the messaging, that's what made Jurassic Park so amazing. It was kind of a retread of that. We didn't really focus as much on the bioethics and experimentation as I hoped. I really was hoping we would unpack the ethics of creating the Indominus Rex and all the mutants that went into that and how really tragic that is. Instead, this movie was focused on the same thing all Jurassic movies are focused on, which is corporate greed, although this one had a big spin on Big Pharma, which I did appreciate. As far as favorite scenes in this movie go, the sea chase I thought was a lot of fun. The bird's nest scene was great. I thought that was a really good on the edge of your seat moment. Loomis falling off the cliff in that, that made my heart stop. That was crazy. If they had killed him there, I wouldn't have recovered from that. I really liked Loomis. He was a great lead, and oh my god, what a crazy way to die that would have been. It would have been a little ridiculous that he essentially killed himself, but boy, that would have elevated the stakes of the movie. That was a real nail-biter moment. That one had my heart pumping. Same with that ending sequence at the lab. I thought that was great. That was the other scene that really had me going. I thought the whole thing at the lab with the Mutadons and the D-Rex was really cool. But my favorite scene of the whole movie was that really, really beautiful, peaceful moment with the Titanosaurs. That was just pure pure Jurassic, treating the dinosaurs like animals, showing how these creatures would have behaved in the real world, the majesty of dinosaurs on full display, the scale on full display, the beautiful music, the beautiful scenery. It was the best part of the movie by far. I wanted more of that. That was great. As for my score, I think I talked about this in the last video. I'd rank it probably as my second favorite Jurassic movie. I don't love giving movies ratings out of 10. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10 if I had to. It's an arbitrary rating. I think I gave Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom the same, and I do not think the Fallen Kingdom is as good as this by far. So I don't love ratings out of 10, but I really liked this movie. I thought it was probably my second favorite Jurassic movie, but I could see it teetering with Jurassic World 1 just because I have a really strong nostalgic connection to Jurassic World 1. Alrighty, thank you guys for joining my spoiler talks. What did you guys think of Jurassic World Rebirth? I'd love to hear. Please comment below and let me know. As always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. It is through the support of the patrons on Patreon that I'll be able to continue to make videos like this for you. If you want to see more videos like this, please consider supporting the Patreon using the link in the description below. Thank you guys all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time for the next one. D-Man out.